Thank you for listening to the Golden Hour Drip podcast with me, Logan Lee Miller. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Golden Hour Drip podcast. I'm your host, Logan Lee Miller. Summer is in the air. I know May is just around the corner and technically spring, but with the warmer weather and the sunshine and being outside more, I'm ready for summer and the heat wave to come. I feel like, I don't know why, maybe it's all the amazing music that has dropped lately, but I am kind of transitioning from my podcast, listening to podcasts constantly, to now incorporating some music. And I absolutely have been loving Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso. So good. Oh my gosh. Plus, as a coffee girly, it makes me feel so good that there is a song about, espresso, keeping you up all night. Yes, I love it. So Taylor Swift also, she dropped her album of the Tortured Poets Department. Love that. I went to a little listen party last Friday and it was so good. Oh my gosh, it was so cute. So Hannah is one of my very good friends. She hosts monthly meetups as well. Hers are the KC Cuisine Club. And she hosted a little, I wouldn't call it a dinner party. It was just a gathering at the house. And she had snacks and we listened to the album. So good. Honestly, so many songs. That morning I had woken up to take a Hot Flow with Weights class. I needed it for my last requirements. And I knew that was dropping. I listened to it on the way there. I was not expecting so many songs or the songs to be so long and amazing. But I was listening on the way to my class and I didn't get through them all. And I was like, oh my gosh, listen to them on the way back as well. And honestly, I'm kind of really, really liking this album. It's hard because Taylor Swift has so many albums and the ranking. So it's hard to pick one over the other, but this one is slowly rising through the ranks for me. I'm definitely enjoying it. I think it's so fun. And the watch party, or the listen party, I guess it wasn't watching, but the people who are working to put together the not collages, but it's a YouTube video where it's multiple songs in a row just playing. That way you're not skipping through, there's not ads or anything like that. Absolutely love it, but they are working hard to get all those songs downloaded, kicked off into this so many hours of listening. I love it. I think it's great. But we listened to that all night. It was amazing. And then one of my sorority sisters dropped her first single on Friday as well. It's called Chewing Gum. But I've just been in this music listening state, and this always happens when summer comes around. You just want to roll down your windows and listen to the breeze, listen to the music. And I think what really actually started this is one night I was driving home and I needed fuel. So of course, I stopped at the gas station, I'm filling up my vehicle, and while I'm waiting for the fuel, I pull out my phone and I'm scrolling through TikTok and I find this, it's DJ Fat Dog, I think is what his name is, but he was doing a live video and it's country mix-ups. So he'll take a country song and then match or speed up the beats to go with a popular songs such as Soulja Boy or now I can't even think of any of the other ones that he mixed with them, but he mixes the country with the beat dropping, and it's so good. And so I listened to him on TikTok Live. I just plugged it into my phone, listened to him on the way home of all of these mashups, and it was so fun, so good. And country music for me, it's just so summer, right? It's the windows down, the breeze flowing in. It's kind of nostalgic for me. I feel like I'm, riding in the truck with my dad, or I'm in high school, so country is just a summer summer vibe, right? And so he was playing all these mashups and it was really, really fun. And then T Swift drops this album and, you know, Sabrina Carpenter. There's just been so much good music. I mean, Beyonce dropped her album as well. Hello Cowboy Carter. I love that too. So I feel like it's gonna be a summer of music and I'm so happy, so excited for that. I will say all the Coachella videos, and I feel like Coachella is one of those things that I don't hear anything about. Like I forget about Coachella until it is Coachella weekend. But I was watching all of the videos with all of my teacher training that I've done. My body was feeling like so exhausted. I made like a little Epsom salt bubble bath situation and I was reading magazines, but I was also scrolling through all of the Coachella outfits, the songs. There were so many like cute little clips. It was just a really, really good time and I'm loving the music era. I just think it's so fun. And it puts you in the mood. And also it allows my brain to think about its own thoughts instead of like a podcast. You're thinking about my thoughts, right? Like we are together sitting here talking about music, so you're also thinking about music. But when I am listening to music, my brain has a chance to like roam, to be bored, to think of its own ideas, right? So I do like music, and if I am like over consuming, you know, podcasts or other creators, it is nice to like take a break and see what's on my mind. Although music, of course, does have themes and lyrics, I find my mind thinking about other things than just the song ahead of me or in front of me. So I do like that as well. Also, for yoga teacher training, we have to create our own playlist for the classes that we teach. So I've also been trying to consume content of music and what is going to make like a really awesome class, more so than I've ever listened to music before. I feel like in high school I was definitely the kind of girl who had like a CD in her vehicle and I would play that constantly for months before like swapping out the next CD or listening to the radio. But I will tell you this, it has been so long since I've listened to the radio. There are just so many other avenues of music and podcasting. Like you think about a radio talk show in comparison to a podcast, like it's just, I don't know, it's a crazy transition from thinking about, oh, I always listen to the radio, or I have always had CDs, to, oh, I just use my phone, right? So I've been nonstop playing music. I love the mashups. I love the new albums. And it's been so fun, so good. Let's get into my peak of the week. I completed teacher training for yoga. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. So I am 200 hours certified for yoga. I'm so excited. So now I'm just like waiting to see if they have any openings at the studio for interns or teachers. They don't do the schedule until like every 6 months, or I'm sorry, they do the schedule every 6 months. So right now I'm just waiting to see if I have the same availability as the studio, and I'm really, really nervous and excited, but it just feels so good to have something completed of 200 hours. I've spent so much of my, spring, the beginning of spring, end of winter, just focusing and dialing in on this thing. And there's going to be times where you're busy, right? And that was definitely a busy season for me. And it is crazy how much free time I feel like I'm going to have now, because I was doing everything else on top of also doing this yoga teacher training of 3 times a week and taking a multitude of classes. It was wild. I am so proud of myself, honestly, but I think it's going to be nice to take a break, especially from taking so many classes throughout the day, like on top of just like regular classes, going to teacher training, trying the postures. My body is like in recovery. It's definitely, I'm taking it easy. and being gentle and being kind to myself before we get started back up in May. So I have a little bit of a break and I'm really excited. I'm gonna go visit Lily before she goes on her big trip this summer, and go and visit, in Iowa before the swing of things come in May. My birthday is coming up, Garrett's birthday is coming up. I have 2 trips planned in May. June, oh my gosh, I am so excited. I finally have the Golden Gal Network event for June 7th through the 9th. It's up, it's ready. We are doing a retreat style in Herman, Missouri, and it is going to be so good. I have the place that we're staying at booked. It's giving camp, it's giving sleepover, it's giving all the things. And it was really, really hard to find that magnitude of beds. But now tickets are available. They are definitely limited, but it should be a really, really good group. We're doing vinyasa, or Vino and Vinyasa. So I'm going to be teaching my first yoga class during this retreat, outside of, PL, but it's going to be really fun. Traveling to the 7 different wineries in Herman. It's going to be bonding. It's going to be just such an interactive, transformative weekend. And I finally have all of the plans down, created. I have the itinerary made, and I am just so looking forward to this. And it's going to be perfection, but that's another event in June that I have. Then we have our float trip, and it is definitely getting into the swing of summer. So I have about a week before traveling to Austin, Texas, before going to Iowa for Memorial Day. We have a couple weddings, not as many as last year. I'm so excited because last year was absolutely ridiculous with all of the weddings. But I'm excited for summer, and I just feel like I'm setting myself up for success by taking this little week-long break. I think it's really important to, after the time of busy, after the time where you have no disposable time, you're not spending it, lounging on the couch. I was training and going through so much work and balancing, my 9 to 5, my 8 to 5, whatever. And literally this weekend, after Saturday, I had my final teach out. It was so good. I was nervous though. I packed all my stuff up and I was getting ready. I ended up driving there an hour and a half early, just, sitting in the parking lot, hanging out, prepping my brain for the class ahead. So in our group, we had originally 6 members, but one had a family thing that they had to do, and the other one had their prom, right? She was in high school. She was the youngest in our group. So I really missed those 2 that missed our final teach out, but we had 4 people left, so me and 3 others. We split up the sequence in 4 equal spots. I taught the first part, so just setting the scene, and 2 of my good friends came, and it was so good to see Kelsey and Katie, and I don't know if they made me more nervous or they made me feel secure. I think it was a little bit of both. Nervous because I wanted to impress them that I have been learning and working so hard to get my certification, but also really happy that they were there to support me. And you don't often think about it, but when you need someone to come and support you and show up, and then they actually do, it's just a wonderful, empowering feeling, and you feel so loved, right? And you might think, oh my gosh, that sounds so dumb, but think about it, your true friends who, when you text, hey, I have this thing, can you come? And then them actually coming is really, really powerful. Of course, if something came up, I would understand. I actually had a friend who I invited, and she had something came up, totally fine. But it was wow, these people love me, right? And just being there and being present is so awesome, but it was like this comfort of, yes, like they're here. I have my girls here. It's amazing. And I did the teach out. So my part was the first part. I did like the greeting and talking, and then I showed them how to do a posture, and I did our integration in our Sun A. And I'm so glad that I went first, because when we were originally breaking it apart, I was like, okay, like we're all learning, right? Like we're still learning the sequence. We're making sure that we're gonna be able to handle it. And I was like, man, it's really hard for me to pick up where someone left off. I feel like I need to do things A, B, C, and not, oh, someone did A, I'm gonna do B, and then I'll leave it to C. It's not how my brain works. I want to do in order. I want to do it correctly. So I felt like I needed to start first, so I wouldn't mess up, right? It's like, okay, we're first. And I also, like, once I got done, I was able to relax into the yoga class, because we rotated out for teachers, and then we got back on our mat, and then we did our thing. And I was just like so nervous. And I get it, like I was nervous because I wanted to do a good job, but I just kept thinking to myself, these are our families and friends. Like this is the people who they know, like we've gone through training, and this is our like practice to get our certification. But it was like, oh my gosh, like are we gonna do a good job? Am I gonna remember what I learned? And as soon as I demonstrated a posture, I was like kind of out of breath, but I didn't want to show that I was out of breath. But I was like, and then it got me thinking about all of these like albums, right, that these artists have performed and created. And if you think about like Taylor Swift, she had like a 3-hour concert, nonstop performing, nonstop singing. Think about like being so in shape in order to do that. And then thinking about myself, I podcast and I talk, but I'm sitting, like I'm not belting, I'm not projecting in a way that would feed a crowd of, thousands, right? And I have so much respect for performers and also like previous yoga teachers. Like there is so much work that goes into a yoga class. And so I'm thinking of all the yoga classes that I've taken and how I felt like so comfortable and so just like protected. Even if I made a mistake, like it's okay. And it was a area for learning. It was amazing. And I'm like, wow, that teacher really had to prepare. That teacher was really focused on, her class. And if it was an intelligent sequencing, like she added in he added in their own sequence, that takes effort too, because you have to be thinking about the breath. You have to be thinking about, is it a closed hip or an open hip posture? How is the student moving? What is going to be the transition? And so I'm like, wow, like it is actually so much work. And when I originally started, I didn't realize it was going to be like, so I knew it was going to be work, but I didn't know the intensity of the work and how everyone just makes it seem so effortless when they're in the studio. And I'm like, okay, like this is definitely going to be a season of growth for me, where I'm going to have to push myself out of my comfort zone. I'm going to have to ask questions. I basically, and truly going into student mode, I felt like I was back in college with the classwork that was due and having to take notes, and I had a binder with all the information, and I have felt so stretched in the last 8 weeks. And it's crazy to think that I had made the decision. It's like yoga teacher training, or being a yoga teacher, is something that I've thought about for a very, very long time. And yoga I've always been drawn to yoga, movement of the body, stretching, like it seems so organic, right? Like it's just like a movement of body. And I thought about this in college, and it wasn't like on the forefront of my goals for this year. If I go back to like my January journal or my December journal of the things that I wanted to accomplish, the things that I wanted to do moving forward, I did not have it on there. I was like, oh, whatever. Like, when it was like put in my head of I want to do this, and I will definitely say it goes hand in hand with my network events, because I was coordinating a yoga teacher to do an event, and that's something that I wanted for myself as well. And I was like, you know what? It's the beginning of the year. I'd been going to yoga teacher yoga classes for quite some time at this time, and I really wanted to do like a yoga experience and journaling for the Golden Gal Network. So I got it coordinated, and I coordinated it like in the end or middle of December. And by the time January rolled around, I was like, man, like I kind of think that this would be a great addition to my network events. And by the time we actually had the event, I'd already signed up, but I was like, wow, it was not on my bingo card, but I'm so glad that I did it. Like, it was almost an impulsive decision, although I had thought about it for like multiple years prior, but it was the taking action. It was like stepping forward and thinking, we're gonna do this, we're being decisive, it's gonna be a lot of time, it's gonna be a big commitment, but if I can commit to this for just 8 weeks, if I can focus on myself, if I can really pour into this hobby, this experience, I know that I'm going to be able to keep this knowledge for my lifetime. I'm gonna be able to use this skill at any time. And as my grandpa always said, like, nobody can take away your knowledge. Nobody can take away your education. It's in your head. So for me to think, okay, this is what I wanna do, and even if I don't then utilize my certification for like teaching yoga at the studio where I've taken the teacher training, I still have the knowledge. I still have deepened my yoga practice, and now I can do yoga anywhere. Like, I can set up my own sequence. I know the postures. It was such an immersive and intensive 8 weeks that I feel like I have the starting foundation of knowledge, and I can't wait to build upon that, because I know that I don't know everything. I still know that I'm like really new to yoga still, and I can't wait to like deepen it and learn more. It was such a nostalgic, bittersweet feeling when we finished our class, and as everybody was like gathered around, we shared a meal together. After we had taught, everybody brought something for a potluck. I brought roasted Brussels sprouts and sweet potatoes and turnip and carrots and Brussels sprouts. It's so good, honestly, and it has cranberries on it. It's like roasted vegetable salad. It honestly is so hearty, but also so good. And I thought it was a great transition from the winter and spring. Kind of light still, but it's really good root vegetables. And so I made that. Other people like brought their things, like chocolate covered dates stuffed with peanut butter and sea salt. There was strawberry stuffed cheesecake. There, like, honestly, so many delicious, amazing components of a meal. I almost said meal, but components of a meal, sides, I guess, or dishes or whatever. It was a potluck. And as we're all filling our plates, I was just thinking, this is the last time that we are going to be in this environment. Quite literally, because some people are moving away. One girl is going to Spain, another is going to, oh my gosh, all over. People are moving. Like, one of the girls, the one who had prom this weekend, she's going to college. Like, this is the last time that we'll all be in this space together, and it made me really appreciate getting to know them on such a deeper level and really knowing their story and their soul. We shared very intimate details with one another about our journey, about what scared us, about, limiting beliefs, and I loved it. I ate that up, especially because it is the beginning of the year. We started February 20th. like that's still pretty early. So it's like perfect for goal making and like moving past what has been holding you back. And I loved it. But as we were all sitting there, I was like, this is truly the last time. Last week was our last like regular week. We had Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday. And then this past week was Tuesday was in person, but Thursday was online, and Saturday we were only teaching, and then we had our potluck and we were done. And it just makes me like miss them. Like next Tuesday, I'm not gonna be going to class. Next Thursday, you know, and you get into such a habit of going somewhere every single week and seeing people that you love 3 times a week in comparison to now, like, I hope I see them in a class, right? Like I hope I can take their class. And it made me appreciate the time spent and the experiences we had together. I got my certificate, which was great. I put, you know, I got all my homework completed. I had put in the effort. I had tested well, and here I, you know, get my certificate and I'm done. There's so much learning to do. I also can go for like a 300 hour. I can go into like a certain specialty like hot flow or, you know, hot yoga or restore. Although like we touched on those things and I can teach on those things, I still need to like deepen my knowledge of them. But it is such a bittersweet feeling of I'm officially 200 hour trained, but it's just scratching the surface. And I think not this year, but last summer, remember when I was talking about my hydrangeas and I was like, I went to plant them on the side of the house and I want to be able to go in the yard and do yoga. Like, I feel like I am making things happen for me. I'm writing them down. I have my goals in focus and I'm pouring energy into those things. Instead of, you know, when you don't have a goal or you don't know what you're wanting to chase after, it's really hard to actually get those things completed. I have been using my little flip notebook, and I haven't really done it before. Like, I've done it before, don't get me wrong. But because of these last 8 weeks being so crazy, being so hectic, I have not, like, I've just been trying to survive, and I feel like now I can optimize because I did survive during those 8 weeks doing all those things. Now I can start focusing on what do I need to achieve by May, what do I need to do by May 8th. Like, my birthday is always so pivotal for me. But writing down the goals, writing down, okay, this is the list, and getting so much accomplished in that time. But I'm also thinking back to last year, journaling or, you know, imagining what my life would look like if I had hydrangeas growing on the side of my house, if I was able to do yoga in my yard and have this like really beautiful background. I thought that's what I wanted. Like, and now to be able to teach myself yoga, because I was also thinking like during that time, all right, like if I'm going to do yoga in the yard, am I going to have my iPad out there? Like, am I going to be taking a YouTube yoga class? And now I'm like, I didn't know then that I would be taking yoga teacher training, but it's something that I wished for. It's something that I wanted, and I just put in the work and I accomplished it. So dialing in on your goals is so important, and being able to like write it out on what's going to move the needle. That's something I ask myself every single day. What's going to move the needle forward? Or at least on the days that I don't ask myself that, I don't get everything that I want done. I'm not dialed in. I'm not focused. I'm not pushing and achieving things. If I allow my day to just like go with the flow, it's chaos. Like, I don't actually get completed what needs to be done, and instead I'm diverting my energy into like this place and that place and not focused energy to accomplish it and then move on. I'm so tired of things being half-baked because I forget to complete the project because, you know, a phone call comes in or I answer an email or I get distracted in one way or another, in comparison to, okay, like, we're gonna get this done, then we're gonna get this next thing done. So I've really just been writing down my goals, writing down my to-do list, and then actually getting those accomplished, actually getting them done. And we've been really doing it. We have been accomplishing everything. Hey, I hope that you're enjoying today's podcast episode. Just a quick interruption to let you know that Golden Hour Drip has a weekly newsletter that comes out. This has bonus content, weekly updates, and future event information. If you haven't already, go down to the show notes, click the link, and join today. Now, back to the show. And it always makes me feel so good when I cross something off of that list where I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm gonna feel accomplished if I get this done. And taking my pen and just crossing it out, oh, it feels so good. It's also motivating because if I'm not feeling it or I'm feeling down or whatever, looking back at those papers to see what I accomplished in like a day is really amazing. So I have this like notebook that it says today is a good day, and it's just like really short boxes. It's more of a daily planner like you would get in high school. I would put like the top 3 things that I wanted to achieve. And in December, that was like a really busy time for me because I was trying to do Vlogmas for the very first time. And so I had to like put it on. I was like, okay, we're going to accomplish this, this, and this. And then looking back, like, okay, January, February, I didn't do that. Like I wasn't that focused. I was just willy-nilly. So coming into March and April, being able to have a list and sticking to that list and stretching or flexing that bone of I need to get this done, so I'm gonna accomplish it and I'm gonna move forward. Just it feels good and it helps me with the decisiveness that I want. Like, what should I do today? No, this is what I'm gonna do today, and moving forward. So teacher training is over, and we'll see where the next steps lie for me, and I'm so excited. Now, the pit of the week. I found a new favorite sweet treat. They're called True Fruit. There's 2 different types. Some are frozen fruit dipped in chocolate, and then other is like dried fruit. It's the same brand, but it's called True Fruit. And I was in Target. I was picking up a couple things, and I go through the like checkout line. I'm a little hungry, okay? Like I need a little snack. And of course I see the, oh my gosh, they're like the Sour Patch Kids or the Peach Rings, but they are Smart Sweets. That's what they're called, Smart Sweets. Smart Sweets are honestly so good. And I was picking some of those up, and as I was like walking further, I noticed these True Fruit, and it was raspberry dipped in chocolate. And I was like, you know who might actually love these? Garrett. Like Garrett might like these. So I threw them in the cart. I was like, okay, perfect. Like this sounds so good. And I ate one in the car and was like, this is actually really amazing. Like this is better than I thought it could be, right? Like this, and I am addicted. Okay, so we started with the dried ones, and it was like a small bag in the checkout line. Then I actually went to like the aisles the next time, picked up a bag, and then I went to McKeever's Market where I get my coffee from, and I saw them in the frozen section, and I was like, oh, cute. Didn't realize that it was frozen fruit. So we tried frozen blueberries dipped in chocolate and then frozen cherries dipped in chocolate. The cherries were so tart and amazing and good with that chocolate. Love the blueberries too, but I burnt the roof of my mouth on pizza, and which is really, really sad. But as I like put the chocolate covered cherry in my mouth, the tartness and the acidity just like burnt up that soft area where it had already burnt on pizza. Oh my gosh, the acidity, it was so bad, but they were so good because they were also cold. So they're cold, they're tart, they're sweet, they're everything. The only problem is because they are such a good quality product, they're, $8 for a bag, $6 for a bag, like They are a snack that is so easy to eat the whole bag so quickly, and then like to replenish it or to restock it, it's gonna cost you some money, right? So I love this new sweet treat, but it is becoming an addiction, just like my Poppy or my Olipop. I love both of those probiotic sodas. Also, this is so embarrassing. So I was on my laptop, I was on a Zoom, and I was feeling a little thirsty, but I didn't want my Stanley water. I wanted something a little different. And so on the Zoom, I was a little distracted, right? Like I had my phone open and someone had DM'd me on Instagram asking about how our book club worked. And I was like, okay, fine, great. Like I was DMing them back and was like, these are the details, here's the group me. And I thought to myself, oh, like I need to text Garrett and ask him if he'll bring me a soda. So I say, hey, will you please bring me a soda? Send. I'm an annoying texter. I will send multiple messages before like collecting my thoughts, putting it in one message and sending it as like a complete thought. No. It's like message, send, message, send, message, send, all fragment sentences. So I was typing, I was like, can you please bring me a soda? Send. The pomegranate one. Send. Knock on the door, please. Send. Then I waited like 3 or 4 minutes. I was like, what the heck? Why hasn't he got up? Why hasn't he brought me my soda yet? And I looked down and I had messaged the girl. I had messaged the girl who asked me about the book club to bring me a soda, to bring me a pomegranate one, and to knock on the door. And I was so embarrassed. I was like, I am so sorry. I thought I was texting my husband. Please disregard. Luckily, Instagram has like the unsend, so it's not still in our feed, but I felt so bad. But when I was texting, so I thought. I went and I texted Garrett, same thing. I said, please bring me a water. This time my thought was in one message. I said, please bring me a water. I said, please bring me a soda, the pomegranate one. These pomegranate sodas are just sparkling water from Target. They're just water flavored. And I keep calling them a soda because they're carbonated. And that makes me think that like Poppy's branding of soda being like a dirty word, like now I'm asking for a soda all the time, and I know these are not sodas. I know that my little flavored water is not a soda, but because of the carbonation, I'm like, oh, grab me a soda. Like it's not my Stanley, it's not flat water. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need to stop that. I need to stop calling water, literally water. It's branded as water. Quit calling it soda. Like it's so obvious. Oh my gosh. Or maybe I do, like, but I would like to just refer to like Poppy and Olipop as soda, not also sparkling water. But listen, they're all pop to me. They're all soda. Also, that's another thing. Do you call it soda or soda pop or a pop? I call it soda all the time. Like, bring me a soda. I don't know. That's just a side note on me. And I grew up in Northeast Iowa for a lot of my childhood. I lived a couple years in Georgia, and then now I reside in the state that I was born in, Missouri. So I don't know. I call it soda a lot, but pop, I don't really call it pop. But a side note, and yeah, my favorite treat. And what I was saying is Poppy and Olipop, like they're a little expensive too, right? Like it's $2 for a can, which really isn't that expensive. But when you drink one every single day, or you eat it in a setting, like my budget, I'm always working on my budget. I'm trying to dial in my goals, dial in what I want to accomplish, what I want to do. And I need to make sure that I'm watching my budget, even if I do love it, even if it is such a sweet treat, but I need to think of it as a treat and not as a staple, right? Like a staple in our fridge or a staple in my, day-to-day routine or lifestyle. So that was my pit of the week, but really it's good. Like it is a good treat. I am happy to have it. And it is amazing. So currently I am reading, speaking of my little book club, I am reading Emily Ratajkowski's book, My Body. And I honestly, so she goes by Emrata, that's like her nickname that she got in high school. And I will say, like, I knew of Emrata. I had, you know, and it was crazy because in the book, she talks about a music video she did. And it was Blurred Lines. And I remember, like, when that song came out and watching it, and it's so crazy when you think about side characters or people who you aren't quite aware of. If you think about, like, the invisible line theory of, and there's so many examples of this, but one example that I can think of is, all right, like, me and my husband were at Disneyland at the same time, and my mom took a photo of me standing next to Goofy, and in the background, my husband was there. Invisible line theory, right? Like, it's where your paths cross, but you don't actually, like, meet each other. That was just a side, like, story that didn't happen to me, but that's, like, an example where it's an event or something that has happened, and then that other person who later in your life then, like, becomes intersected, becomes, like, a permanent fixture in your life, is no longer a side character, but somebody that you, you know, appreciate and talk to every single day. It's kind of the same. Like, Emrata, I had seen the music video, like, when I forget when it came out, 2013 maybe. I was in high school, right? Like, and I saw it come out. I remember the song being on the radio, and it was crazy because as I hadn't listened to that song in so long, right? And so I started the book and it was like, pause. I need to watch this music video again. So I went, I rewatched it, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, I remember watching this video, but I didn't, like, I was in high school. Like, it really wasn't, you're worried about so many other things in high school than pop culture. And I think about this a lot. Like, yes, there was very, iconic things that happened when I was in elementary school and high school, or middle school and high school. But to think back on it, it wasn't like that big of a deal. I think it's truly, when you think about the different timelines, like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, the 2020s, thinking about those time periods, like, when you become an adult, then you can rationalize on, like, when things actually happened. And as a kid, like, you don't really think about that things. You're influenced for sure by what's in the stores, but it's just a totally different idea. So when I watched it, I was like, okay, like, I remember listening to the song, I remember watching this video, but I don't remember, like, it wasn't, I mean, I didn't even know who Robin Thicke was even then. Like, I listened to the song, but it's just like any song that came on the radio. And to read her book, one of her very good friends has a podcast, and she mentions Emrata on it all the time. So it kind of came full circle, like, okay, this is a video I watched in 2013, or a song that I listened to when I was literally a freshman in high school, in comparison to, okay, now I'm 25, reading her book, and it was so impactful. I was like, this is absolutely crazy. So I rewatched it. I was like, okay, like, I feel like I'm back in 2013. And then I continued on with her book, because chapter 2 is literally called Blurred Lines. So I was like, all right, her, like, short stories or her short essays are truly, like, I feel like I'm just, like, taking a peek into her soul, which is a very, like, intimate thing, right? To have someone's thoughts and ideas on paper. This is why I like biographies or memoirs so much. I loved, you know, Jeanette McCurdy's book, I'm Glad My Mother Died. Like, I love seeing that insight into someone's mind and brain, or what they went through to become who the person that they are today. It's just so powerful and impactful. What are some other memoirs that I've read recently or listened to? David Goggins, listened to his book last November. I listened to Jamie Kern Lima's book. Like, there are so many amazing books that I got to either read or listen to hear that person's story, to hear that insight, and to hear their courage of like stepping out and trying something new. I truly think that it's so applicable to someone's life as well. When you are able to read someone else's or listen to someone else's experience, one, it makes you not feel so alone. Hannah Brown, like I read her book. What was it called? Oh, God Bless This Mess. I actually listened to the book. Amazing. I got to hear insight. I got to hear about her childhood. Some of these people that we see on social media, or we see in the movies, or we see on a TV show, we only get like a small glimpse into their life. We don't actually get all the details, right? And when they have a memoir, it's like, okay, yeah, I know her from this one thing. Maybe it's a music video, maybe it's The Bachelor. Like, I know them from this one thing. But then to dive deeper into their brain, dive deeper into their experiences. And I also love the like memoirs and reality TV, like human activity, or how humans socialize with one another, or how they interact with one another, is really good for like observing. And I feel like it helps with like my own life. So if I'm watching reality TV and I'm gonna say like the Housewives, right? Housewives of Beverly Hills or something. That's one that my mom has watched for so long. And if I look at the Housewives and one housewife gets mad at the other because she cut her out of a business deal, or maybe I'm pretty sure there was a scandal of like one housewife lied about her husband having like a serious disease or cancer, and then everybody was like, you lied to us, like he doesn't have this thing. And that's not something I would do, right? Like, I'm not going to lie and say that I have a disease that I don't have. But seeing how her brain worked of, well, this is what he told me, and I am always going to stand by my man, right? And then the interaction between the other housewives of, you're a liar. It's great. Like, human dynamics are so fascinating, and I eat that up. It is so good to like either watch, consume, read, listen. I love seeing how they dealt with their own situations and then applying it to your life of, oh, like my friend made me mad and now we're in a fight. Like, how do I cut that relationship off? Do I reach out again? Do I wait for them to reach out? And then being able to model it after like something that you've seen. Amazing, great. Like, I just love it. I think it is so interesting, and seeing how they were brought up or how they were raised, and how many similarities or differences we have, right? Like, that compare and contrast is so good. So if I think, oh, like she was raised by a single mother, or she was, had a million siblings, or maybe she was an only child, like, to think, how is that similar to my life, or how is that different from my life? Or, what sports or activities they were in, and how does that compare to mine? Like, it really is just truly fascinating and interesting, and I love it. Maybe you don't like reality TV. Maybe you're not interested in reading about someone else's life. You would rather read nonfiction or fiction, honestly. But I have really been enjoying My Body by Emrata. I'm about halfway done with the book. And it is just eye-opening, especially because this is not someone who I followed along with her life. It wasn't until I heard her on the Call Her Daddy podcast where I was listening and I was like, oh, like her book, like I would love to get that. So I went to Barnes and Noble and picked it up, which actually I have been spending so much time in Barnes & Noble, actually, because it is so close to one of the studios. I've been like going to it quite often, and I have been like, it's like a candy shop for a child, right? Like you see all of these colorful books, you see all of these bright covers, and I just want to throw every single one in my bag. I have to limit myself or remind myself that I have books at home, or there's content that I haven't read yet, or maybe I don't have it in my schedule to like have time to read. Because if I'm distracting myself from like my to-do list, like the things that I need to get accomplished, the things that are going to make me feel good about my day or what I've done, if I don't focus on them, if I just fill it up, this is where like the distraction comes in and the half-baked things. When I'm like, okay, today I'm gonna edit a YouTube video, I am going to clean my office, I'm gonna do laundry, and I need to paint my toenails. If I have all that on my list, but I stop at Barnes & Noble on the way home and I picked up 2 books, and then when I get home, all I wanna do is pick up those books and read, that's going to distract me from like what I need to get done. So I've been really, and plus if I have things to get done and I buy like 2 or 3 books and they just sit on my shelf because I don't have the time to read them, I feel like that's a wasted resource that I could have like saved that money resource or the shelf space resource until I did have the time to read the book, until I was able to fully embody or do what I needed to be done. So I've been trying really hard on that. But Barnes & Noble, like it is just a fun place to be. And I also just like to browse. I like to browse through the book, see what is out there, because I feel like yes, there's book talk, right? Like we have book talk and they have, book clubs out there, but a lot of the books are like these either super romantic books or it's the same stuff. Like I'm seeing the same recommendation from like 6 different channels or 6 or 7 different people or book clubs. It's like, this is all the book that they read. I want to find other books like outside of that realm or find something that interests me. They also have magazines at Barnes & Noble. So I like picked up a couple magazines. I've been loving that of flipping through it. Like there is a smell with the magazine that I didn't realize I was missing so much until I opened up the magazine. I was like, wow, like this actually smells so good. It reminds me of my childhood. Like I had 17 magazines for days. Like it was insane. So I've been trying to read more, but still like accomplish my goals and still get my work together, because I am spending so much time on social media or so much time like streaming or listening to other people. I just feel like it's better for my brain to be like, okay, we are going to focus on these pages. We are going to focus on looking at this, getting inspired, or, thinking about their situation, how it is applicable to you. So Emily's book is absolutely amazing. It's not a super hard read. Like the book is a good size. It has like good amount of pages, but it's not something that you are gonna dread reading. Like, oh my gosh, like it's such a big book. Because sometimes like I get overwhelmed with the size of books and with everybody reading so fast, and they're like, I read 18 books in 3 days. Like, I can't do that. I want to go slow. I want to absorb it. I want it to be fun. And so it's not an overwhelming book. It's definitely doable. But with all of their books and like what these bibliographies or memoirs are accomplishing, it brings also so much inspiration for myself, where I think, okay, maybe I don't want to do the exact same thing that they did, right? Like maybe I don't want to be on a reality show for The Bachelor, right? Like that's not in my cards. That's not something that I want to do or even have like interest in, right? But it is inspirational for them taking action, for them to try something new that they've never tried before, and then also like the work that they did to achieve that goal, right? Like what did they sacrifice to be able to make it, or to be able to explore that avenue. In retrospect, like I think these last 8 weeks where I had to give up spending time with my friends, I had to give up time spending at home, or being able to clean my house, right? Like there's other areas in my life that were kind of put to the wayside because I need to focus on this other thing, because I needed to like pass this, especially if I was spending so much money. Like I wanted to be able to walk away with a certificate. So it's inspiring because I'm like, what did they have to give up to achieve their dream? What did they have to, fight for? And it goes back to where, in what area of my life can I try something that I've never tried before, and maybe inspire someone else to try something that they've never tried before, or inspire someone to step out of their comfort zone, or even pave the way. I think about so many, like Jamie Kern Lima. Okay, so she sold her makeup brand, It Cosmetics. She started it in her home with her husband and one of her very good friends. They worked so hard. They were working holidays and weekends, and they were on QVC, and they were running all of these, short, 15-minute segments. They leveraged their credit cards. They, spent so much money and time and effort and blood and sweat and tears, and they gave up so much in their life in order to achieve and accomplish this thing. But they succeeded, right? And she was like the first woman to sell her company for that amount of money, and then she negotiated to be hired as the CEO of that makeup company. So although she sold it to, I forget what company she actually sold it to, but she sold it, and then she was still able, she has a hand in the business, she's CEO, she is still like in the work, but also it was like the only, there's only like one other female CEO in this network. And so she was paving the way to be, a woman CEO. Like her doing that, how many people did she inspire to also like negotiate to be like a woman in power or a CEO? And you might not think that the things that you're doing right now are inspirational to others. You might be scared yourself, or you might not even be thinking about like down the line how this is going to impact other people. But everything you do, everybody is watching. Like everybody is watching what you do and the steps that you're taking. So whether it's to motivate them because they don't want you succeeding, right? Like they're thinking, oh gosh, like I don't want them to be better than me. I'm going to push myself to try and be better than you, right? Whatever. Some people are negative like that. Or another person might think, oh, like she is stepping outside of her comfort zone. She's amazing. I feel inspired by her, and because she had the courage to step out, I'm also going to have the courage to step out. And also, like, sometimes there's still so many firsts to be had in this world, right? Like the first CEO in a makeup company, right? Like Jamie Kern Lima did that. Or like the first woman to walk the moon. Like there are so many firsts that have come before us, but also like there's still more to be done. There's more to be had. And so thinking about, and maybe you're not the first, maybe you're the second or the third, but that still gives weight to that thing of if she can do it, I can do it. If he can do it, I can do it. And the motivation and the inspiration. So I love hearing about people's personal stories. I love hearing about, the trials, the tribulations, the triumphs, right? Like when they do succeed and when they have their eat their cake moment where they're celebrating and so happy. Like I absolutely love that. And then back to T Swift, okay? If you think about her song, Clara Bow, she is referencing these women in the industry. They're about like 50 years apart maybe, where it's like, okay, you have Clara Bow, then you have Stevie Nicks, then Taylor Swift, and then who's going to be like the next one, and then like eclipsing each other's like fame, like only one can be like in the top. But if Clara Bow didn't, like we're just taking Taylor Swift's song, if Clara Bow didn't walk, Stevie Nicks couldn't jog. And if Stevie Nicks couldn't jog, Taylor Swift couldn't run. And if Taylor Swift can't run, then whoever's next can't sprint, right? So it's leaving a legacy and it's inspiring others. So Yeah, I definitely recommend Emily's book. I hope this episode has been inspiring to you. And maybe you're thinking about those areas where you want to walk so other people can run. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to rate, review, subscribe, all of the things, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.